Okay, so today I'm going to talk about what happens during reunion dinner and how during this annual event you can use it as an opportunity to practice Dharma and also basically practical tips on how you don't lose your cool and start family conflict for the next year. Okay, so first, I want to address people's feelings towards reunion dinners. All of us have different approaches when it comes to reunion dinner. Some people, when they think about it, the night before Chinese New Year, they're like, ayo, super kanchiong, oh. Have to go back, talk to family, have to see them. There's a cousin I don't like, this auntie going to ask me this question. Then some people are very excited, some people are very nervous, some people feel like it's a chore and they have to go back. For myself, when I had reunion dinners as a kid, I was very, very excited. It was an opportunity to go back to Penang to see my grandmother that everyone in the family loved. And she's the type of person that no matter what's happening in the family, she always keeps a very cool, calm exterior. And she always tries to keep the peace. So people like to go back to see her. Then that was me as a child. And as you get older and older and older, then people ask you questions that you don't necessarily find very easy to answer or you want to answer. So we haven't had reunion dinners since my grandmother passed away, not so consistent, because she was basically, you know, we stay in KL, some people are doing this, some people are doing that, so we go back to Penang once a year to see her. And I have pleasant memories of my reunion dinner as a child, but I know for many people they do not, and up to this day they still continue to be very nervous and anxious about having reunion dinners with their family once a year. So I'm going to talk about that and offer some practical advice. First is, I'm going to start out by defining what Dharma is, because that's why we're here. We're here to learn how to practice Dharma during this once a year event. And Dharma can be defined in many ways. Some people might think Dharma is some big philosophical concept using some Sanskrit term that I cannot pronounce, like Madhyamika and Prajna, Paramita and all that stuff. And then you think, wow, very hard to pronounce the word. Some of the translation is very poetic. And how is it relevant to me? And then some people, they immediately kind of disregard these aspects of Dharma because they think it's out of reach and at our level it's just a concept. So they don't see how Dharma can be relevant and accessible to us at our stage. Other people will think, oh, okay, Dharma is taught by the lamas, it's taught by the monks, and they're teaching us, and they're celibate, what? Don't have family, what? Don't have to go for a reunion dinner, what? So they don't have personal experience, how can they talk? But monks are people too. They also have families, they come from families, and with every family you're going to have ups and down moments throughout your life. So Shakyamuni himself was the world's first monk. Shakyamuni himself had his family, and when Shakyamuni, after he became enlightened and he gave teachings, he advised people from all walks of life. He advised mothers, daughters, sons, fathers. He advised his students, and his students had their families too. They had their differences with their families too. So Shakyamuni himself, although he was the world's first monk, was still able to deliver teachings that were beneficial to their everyday life. So if you want to strip away all the labels, what is family? Family is about people, and family is about relationships and how we affect one another in these relationships. And it's not just relationships in the romantic sense, like, oh, this is my partner and I need to learn how to get along with him and his extended family. But it's also about between mother and child. It's also between teacher and student, between friend to friend. Family is not defined by the people that you're born into. It's also defined by people you choose to make a part of your family. So you don't have to be in a family in order to be able to comment, in order to be able to teach methods of developing and fostering harmony. What Dharma and what the lamas teach is about human condition. And the human condition is the same regardless of whatever culture or whatever race or whatever background you come from. At the end of the day, all of us want the same goal. We all want to have peace, we all want to have harmony, and we all want to basically have a better life with less suffering. So I talked briefly on the human condition, but going back to the topic of Dharma, what is Dharma? And you have the technical definition of Dharma, which is that it's right view, right livelihood, right conduct, right path. It's, if you're a Buddhist, you believe in the Four Noble Truths, and if you're practicing the Four Noble Truths in your everyday life, then you're practicing Dharma. But at our level, at our stage, when we want to have a more practical application, then you can define Dharma as being the results of what you practice. So Dharma then is therefore about harmony. It's about developing unity, about developing peace, and about showing compassion to ourselves and to other people. It's about having less suffering for ourselves. It's about having or creating less suffering for other people. And if you cannot foster harmony, then at the very least, you try and create less conflict. So the other day, when I was planning for this talk, I asked a friend, I said, okay, imagine you're going back to a very big dinner and you have many relatives who are going to be asking you very difficult questions. How do you keep the peace? How do you manage to have a situation whereby you don't have conflict? And my friend said to me, it's very simple. You just love each other and stay happy. I was like, what? I can't talk for 2 hours on those two concepts. And then he said, think about it. So I thought about it, and it's true. When you love someone, you are going to do what you can in order to compromise in a situation whereby you can kind of create as little conflict as possible. And if you stay happy, if your motivation is to keep the environment happy, then you will do what it takes in order for that to happen. So I'm going to go through 7 clear points on how we can love each other and stay happy in an environment or a situation where people are either intentionally trying to be difficult for you, or they are naturally difficult and you have to put up with it, okay? Because family is family lah, okay? So the first point is conflict. Conflict in how do you look at conflict? And conflict actually requires 2 people. You can't have conflict if you're standing in a room by yourself and getting angry with yourself and fighting with yourself. Conflict is the idea that you have 2 parties involved. So I have one of my favorite quotes about this is by a former First Lady of the United States, Eleanor Roosevelt. And what she said is that people cannot hurt you without your consent. And the reason why I like that phrase is because it talks very concisely about this idea of conflict. You have one person who is the instigator or the initiator who is provoking you to react. And then you have yourself who is reacting and then escalating the situation. So when someone at your reunion dinner tells you, wow, you really put on a lot of weight this year, life must be good, huh? Then you're like, okay, you have 2 ways that you can react to that. The first way is you look at it and you think, okay, it's a comment and it's water off a duck's back. I don't really have to react to it, it's just words and sounds. And then the other way is you take it as a personal attack and you think, well, this person's really out to get me. I must make sure I say something back and get them just as much as they got me. And then you get upset, you get very irritated. Then next year when reunion dinner comes around again, you think back to the previous year, wow, that person said this to me, that person said that to me, I don't like this person because they did this person didn't show me respect lah. And then year after year, reunion dinner becomes very, very difficult. So what is important here is not so much the comment that the other person makes, but we ourselves being able to take responsibility for our reaction. And we ourselves practicing so that we don't escalate the situation. So what's important is our approach and our perspective of the type of comments that people make. Comments, if you examine it free from any kind of emotion, comments are basically just words and sounds placed in a particular order. And if you want to be really scientific, comments are stimulus, which is sound waves, which is hitting your eardrums. Then your brain and your mind interprets it in the way that you have been conditioned to or you have become habituated to. And how you know that comments on their own have no value is because comments directed to certain people will have different reactions. How come some people find certain sounds and certain words and certain things pleasant and other people will find the exact same thing unpleasant? It's not because the word itself has a value, but because you yourself impute or you as yourself put a value onto these words. So if I were to give an example, the phrase, wow, you put on so much weight, huh? Okay, you can treat that sentence 2 different ways. First, you can look at it and say, okay, this fella is really insulting me, saying I'm fat, and then you get very upset, you start a fight with them, and you get very angry about it. And then the other way is you laugh it off and you take it as a joke and you say, yeah lor, business very good this year, got a lot of money, can go out and eat a lot. Oh, my food now so good, huh? So you make a joke of it and then you become very light about it. And that's something that Rinpoche talks about very often. Rinpoche says, he doesn't mind people like making certain remarks about him. Okay, as Rinpoche students, we don't, but I'm talking about like people outside, critics and detractors, making remarks about Rinpoche. And Rinpoche said, if you are the first person to tease yourself and to make fun of yourself, actually what you're doing is you're taking the power out of other people's hands to upset you. If I call myself fat first, for example, and it doesn't bother me, why is someone else going to use the same remark later to try and get me? They can't, because then they realize that it doesn't bother me. So how you treat a sentence, how you treat remarks that people make at you will actually determine the outcome and of how you feel. So my first point is that conflict requires two people. It requires someone who provokes the conflict and someone who escalates the conflict, which in this case, in a reunion dinner, is us. We are the ones who react. My second point is to learn to focus on the positives of the people that you are with. And I learned this lesson when I was very young through my father. When I was a kid, me and my siblings, we were total brats because our family was very generous to us at least. And anything we wanted, we got. So we ended up becoming super spoiled. And we would have these like epic arguments where we like scream, fight, bang doors, hit each other, very physical. And a lot of rage and a lot of anger. So one day, my dad, who was very patient, lost his patience. So he came out to me and my sister and I were like going at it. So he separated us. And my dad is the type of person, when he wants to discipline you, he won't cane you on your hand one. He'll cane you on like your backside or your stomach, somewhere a bit fatty. So it looks like he's like scolding you, but you don't actually hurt. So this time he beta han already. So he came and he pulled my ear. And then he pulled me upstairs. And then made me sit down with my sister. So me and my sister were like, still like very geram like that and wanting to fight. And my dad, when he slapped us, he told us to like stop it. And then he said, okay, you all sit here for 5 minutes. So me and my sister were like, yeah, but she said this and she said that. Still trying to continue, kena another slap. And then my dad said, sit here for 5 minutes, shut up, don't say anything. He was sitting there, and looking at her, and I was like, very irritated. Then my dad went off, came in after 5 minutes. Then he said to me, okay, now I want you to look at your sister and I want you to think of 10 good things to say about her. I was like, are you kidding me? I just want to punch her. You're telling me now to tell 10 good things about her. My dad said, do it. And then I started talking back. I don't want to do it. She's like this, like this, like this. Gonna slap again. Do it. So, okay, fine. I sat there. I looked at her. My dad went off. 10 minutes later, he came back. And then he said, okay, have you thought of your 10 things? Yeah, I thought of 10 things. And actually, when I was sitting there for those 10 minutes, I was thinking, okay, at first I was thinking, I really don't want to do this. She's so irritating. She's always taking my things. She takes it, she doesn't put it back. She blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, okay, fine. I don't want to get slapped again in 10 minutes time, so I better think of something to say. So I thought about it. And I was like, okay, fine. Okay, she's annoying, but she's generous. Okay, even if for people that she likes, if you need something, she will help you. Okay, fine. She's very funny. Okay, she's very outgoing. She's very easy, carefree. I wish I could be more like that. So I thought. After 10 minutes, my dad came back. Then he goes, okay, now I want you to tell those 10 things to your sister. Wow, I just spent the last hour saying that she's like this, like this, like this, calling her all kinds of names. Now you want me to tell good things to her. So my dad said, do it or else. So, okay, I'll do it. I don't want to get slapped again. My motivation is very simple, don't get slapped. So I sat down and I said, okay, fine. My dad said, look at her and tell her. It's like, okay, you're very generous to people that you like, and you're very, very generous, you give everything to them. And my dad's like, what else? Okay, fine, you're very funny. What else? Okay, you're very intelligent. Okay, after half an hour, what I realized was, when looking back on it, my anger towards her, it decreased over time. My dad didn't tell me, stop being angry at her, stop hating her. My dad told me, change your perspective. Look at her not for the negative qualities that she has, but look at her for the positive qualities that she has. And the more you meditate on this, not just for people who are close to you, but for everyone else, and you think about it, actually the more difficult it becomes for you to find reasons to fight with people. And this again is something that Rinpoche always does with all of us. All of us we get updates from Rinpoche, we get forwarded messages from Rinpoche about how this person has done this wonderful thing, how this person has, come so far, this person's engaging in this practice and this retreat. And okay, fine, some people, sometimes you're like, wow, of course they can do like that, they're so free, right? But if you look at the underlying message, what Rinpoche is trying to get us to focus on is not people's negative qualities that we think makes our life difficult, but to focus on the things that they are very good at, that they should be praised for. And the more you focus on that, then the more within the environment you're in, you can have a better relationship with these people because you're not reacting from what you perceive as their difficulties or their negative qualities, but more that you've become habituated to focus on what is positive. So that's my second point, which is to focus on the positives of the people you're with, which you can do with your family members at reunion dinner, or if you want some practice, you do it before reunion dinner while you're driving there, and you think, okay, I'm going to see this person, okay, this person is actually quite nice because they whatever. So you try that before you actually get to dinner. Okay. Third point is to realize impermanence and to realize that the people you're going to see won't be around forever. And this is something that I didn't have the opportunity to realize until my grandmother was gone. We totally took her for granted, and there were things that I said that was quite mean to her sometimes that I never got the opportunity to take back because she actually passed away very suddenly. But that is something that we can practice with everybody that we are with, which is to understand that the moment of our death can come at any time. And what do I mean by that? You have some people who just suddenly drop dead. Okay, my grandmother, for example, the week before her death, she went for a checkup. Doctor said everything is fine, no issues, no health problems. Blood pressure a little bit high, but nothing to be worried about. One night she went to sleep. She suffered a brain aneurysm while she was asleep, and she never woke up. When I was in university, there are people in their 20s and 30s. They go to sleep one night after lectures. Their heart just stops, and then they never wake up. If you meditate on the human body, what actually keeps all our systems going? What actually compels our heart to keep beating? And can those causes be removed at any time? And yes, they can be, because what compels our heart to continue beating and our body to function in the way that it is our karma. And we never know when our karma for this life will just suddenly stop, and then that's it, and you don't have opportunity to continue. So going to your reunion dinner, you might face family members who are very provocative. They want to invoke some kind of response from you. But then you think, let's say after dinner, during dinner you say some nasty things. After dinner you leave. You get into a car accident, or they get into a car accident, and then that's it. The last thing you said to them was, how dare you say something like this to me? And it wasn't a pleasant feeling. When you're on your deathbed, or when they are on your deathbed, do you want to be in a position where you regret what it is that you said to someone, and have this fear that all your interactions with people, there is something that you leave behind with some kind of regret? And on your deathbed, whatever it is that they said to you, whatever it is that they did to you, are those things going to be very important? In the grand scheme of your life, in the grand scheme of your spirituality, are the comments that people make to you that important to your spirituality, or that you would risk your spirituality for to react? So then you examine what it is that they're saying, which is my fourth point. Look at what it is that your relatives or people close to you, your friends and family, are complaining about. What are they complaining about? Is it something very, very big and significant that they're nagging you about? Or is it something that's very small and very mundane? Are they saying that your wardrobe this year is not fashionable because you lost your job and they're making fun of you? Or are they saying that you are unkind, that you are angersome? Are they talking about something that you can change, that's like physical, that's material? Or are they talking about a character that leads you to create harm for other people? Which one on the grand scheme of things is more important? Your wardrobe, your job, your appearance, or the traits and qualities by which people associate with you? And when you examine the kind of comments that people make, oftentimes what you'll realize is that it reflects not you, but more their mind, and what it is that they find important. People don't comment about things that they themselves don't personally find of value. They will comment on things that they themselves find to be important. People will say, I make fun of your job. Let's say you're an artist or a writer or something, they'll say, wow, what kind of career is that? Got no room for progression, no career progress. But the thing is, they themselves find banking more important, they find an engineering job more important, they find making money more important. So their comments come from what they find important, but not what you find important. So what is it that you find important? And that is the real question. And actually, when people make comments to you and you react to it, you are making that comment important. If you don't care about what it is that people say to you, the comments that they're making, and you don't react to it, it is a reflection of the fact that you don't find value in it. Why react to something you don't care about? If you really don't care about it and you don't find value in it, fine, people can say whatever it is they want to say, it's not important to me. And in looking at the kind of comments that people make to you, you also then have an opportunity to look at their motivation for saying it. Are they saying it because they actually care about you and they want you to improve, they want you to change? Or are they saying it because they are a bit bored and they want to provoke a reaction? Dinner is so pleasant at the moment, everyone's getting along, let's start a fight. Okay, let's start something interesting. Let's make sure that there's something to remember this year. This person and that person fought. Okay, are they doing it for entertainment's sake? Or are they doing it because their mouth very gatai and very itchy and they have to say something? Or are they saying it because it's constructive feedback and they care and they want you to improve and it's that simple and that's it? So if the comment is based out of care, even if it's phrased in a way that you find particularly annoying, say thank you and then move on. And then that's it. No more fight. You got feedback. You can improve yourself for next year. And hopefully next year they don't make the same comment again. Okay? And if it's not a comment that's made out of care, if it's not a comment that's made out of concern for your well-being, then on our part, it's my fifth point, which is to generate compassion for them. People will tell you things that they want you to hear, and social media is very good for this. Social media will only show you the parts of people's lives that people want you to see, but all the things that are difficult behind that and all the discord and the disharmony, they never want to show you. So people will be fighting some kind of battle that you don't know about. Maybe they're unhappy or maybe they're sad about something and they need to kind of fulfill something in them that they need to say it. Okay, so this thing my mom always said to me before, why is your mouth so itchy one? Why you have to say these things one? So gata, you always have to talk, big mouth. Why did you have to say that? Okay, but for me it's gata because I had to satisfy this urge to make a comment about something, and then my mother would be like, you didn't need to say it at that moment in time. It wasn't tactful. It wasn't. You made the situation worse. If you had just said sorry and then moved on, it would have been okay. But sorry, like itchy mouth have to talk lah. Okay, so if you think about it, if I'm itchy mouth, other people can also be itchy mouth. Other people also say things just to satisfy that part of themselves that they are unhappy or they are not satisfied with, and then they end up having to say it. At that same time also, if you look at the kind of comments people make and you generate compassion for them, what you also realize and understand is that people oftentimes speak out of deep insecurity, and they will talk in such a way as to highlight other people's weaknesses and other people's failings, actually to avoid facing or drawing attention to their own. They don't want you to know that on your side of the family, on their side of the family, things are not going well, so they will purposely make sure that everyone focuses on your side and see how bad these people are, so they don't need to look at how badly you're doing. And maybe sometimes people put you down for choices that you make, actually maybe because you dared to do something that they didn't dare to do, or they're afraid to do. Or maybe sometimes people also make comments because genuinely they think that you're making a bad choice and they want to make fun of you for it. If you examine people's motivations for why they make the comments that they make, then it helps you much more easily decide on a reaction for them. And it's actually a decision, it should not be just a pure reaction. So if you look at the kinds of comments people make and why, sometimes they talk out of insecurity to highlight your weaknesses, to highlight your failings. And in that case then, from our side, it's very good for us to move on to point 6, which is we generate joy for them. Okay, Chinese parents are number one at comparing people, okay? They'll be like, wow, your cousin is doing so well. What are you doing? Why did you go for the university course? Or, you see, my friend's family, the children, they are already vice president of the bank. What are you doing still staying at home? Okay? Number one, your cousin is doing so well in school. How come you're always failing one? You see, this one went to international school. This one went to university. Where you go? You dropped out of school. Okay? Number one, Chinese parents. Okay? Internet calls it tiger mom lah, okay? So the way to get through that actually is to rejoice. What is wrong with other people doing well? If your family members come and tell you, hey, you know, that guy, he's doing really well in his job nowadays, you know. Okay, great. I'm so happy for him. You know, what is wrong with being compared to your super duper high flying relative? What's wrong with that? Be happy that they're doing well. And the second you say, oh, I'm happy for you and I rejoice for you, then automatically people are like, eh? No, I was trying to actually put you down. I'm like, yeah, but why put me down? I'm happy with the choices I made. I'm happy with the decisions I made with my life. I take and I own my decisions. I take responsibility for my actions. So why should I be upset that you're highlighting my decisions to me? These are my decisions. That's his decision. That's what he's done. Those are his results, and I'm happy for him. So when you rejoice and you generate joy in other people and what it is that they're doing, what it is that they've accomplished, automatically whatever it is that people want to use in terms of comparison to put you down, you've taken the power away from them. They no longer have the ability to use someone else's results in order to put you down. How well other people do is not a reflection on how badly or how well you are doing. Their life is their life. Their karma is their karma, their decisions are their decisions. And to compare the two, it's not productive. And oftentimes, actually, it makes people end up feeling bad as opposed to actually motivating them to do more. When people also compare you to other people who are doing better, you just think, are you where you are, where you want to be? Are you doing the things that you want to do? And are people's opinions at reunion dinner really going to affect us where every year you will change a different job, change a different house, change a different partner, change different girlfriend, change different boyfriend, just to make your family members happy? Are you really going to let people's comments dictate the kind of decisions that you make after the dinner for the next year? So then it brings me to point 7, which is, are you where you want to be? You made your choices already, so now you are where you want to be, and if you are not, will what people say be important to bring you to the result that you want? And if you're already at the result that you want, are people's opinions still important to you? Is what they're saying constructive feedback, or is what they're saying criticism for your decisions to get to the goal, the result that you want? On a very mundane level, okay, I'm going to say it very crudely, do people's opinions pay for your bills? Okay, what people think about you and what they criticize you for, is it going to pay your rent? Will it pay your electricity? Will it help you with your job? If it doesn't do any of it, is it really that important? And spiritually, do their opinions add to your spiritual practice? Or are they creating a situation or an opportunity whereby it subtracts from your spiritual practice? And on an ultimate level, does it really matter the kinds of comments that they make? Being in Kachara, having the opportunity to listen to the Dharma, we have greater awareness of what it is that we should value in our lives more. We have a greater awareness of the kind of results that we want to accomplish as a result of our practice. So when we go back for our reunion dinner with our big families, are these people as knowledgeable, sorry to put it that way, but are these people as aware or as studied or well-versed in the Dharma as we have had the opportunity to do so? And even if they're not, will their comments help us to become more compassionate, to become more kind? Or will their comments actually help us to deepen our samsara, to deepen our attachment and our desire and our clinging? Okay, so I had the 7 points, which were conflict requires 2 people. We focus on the positives or the people that we're with. We realize impermanence, that the people we're with won't be around forever. So do we really want to create more negative karma in our interactions with them? Fourth point is we look at the kinds of things that people are complaining about. Are they very significant things or are they very mundane, secular things? Number 5, we generate compassion for them because people often say things out of some kind of insecurity for their own weaknesses. Number 6, we generate joy for them. We be happy for people who are doing better than us whenever we're in a situation whereby we're being compared to others. And number 7, are we where we want to be? And will people's comments help us to get there? So if you notice, what I'm actually talking about is practicing the 8 verses of mind transformation within a very practical real life environment, which is reunion dinner, which happens once a year. Now the lineage of the 8 verses of mind transformation teachings actually came from Buddha Shakyamuni. And from Buddha Shakyamuni, who first taught it, he then taught it to Arya Sangha and Arya Nagarjuna. And then from there, it went down to Shantideva. And Shantideva actually talked about it and elaborated and emphasized on certain parts to make sure that these profound teachings become very clear for lay people, ordinary practitioners to understand and to put into practice. Then from Shantideva, it went on to Lama Serlingpa and it went on to Atisha. And Atisha actually then brought the teachings with him to Tibet when he went there to teach. Then from Atisha, the primary teachings he gave went to his disciple Dromtompa. And from Dromtompa, then it went on to Geshe Potoa and Geshe Larring Tampa. And Geshe Larring Tampa, he felt that these 8 verses of mind transformation teachings were very, very profound. And he felt that it would be a very great loss if it wasn't preserved and it was lost somehow in history. Up to Geshe Larring Tampa's time, the 8 verses of mind transformation teachings were only taught verbally. They were not taught in written form. So what Geshe Larring Tampa actually did was he wrote it down. And he recorded the teachings to make sure that future generations would be able to benefit from this knowledge. So one of the subsequent masters after that who actually benefited from this was Geshe Chekawa. And Geshe Chekawa came across one single line, one verse. And this verse moved him very profoundly and very deeply. And the verse was, "May I accept the defeat and offer the victory to others." Okay? May I accept the defeat and offer the victory to others. So when Geshe Chekawa actually heard this verse, he felt extremely moved. He felt it was very profound. So he was so inspired, he went to look for the author of the text, Geshe Larring Tampa. And unfortunately, when he did that, he found out that the master who wrote the text had already passed away. So he went around and he ended up receiving this set of teachings from Geshe Sarawa. And from then on, the teachings of the 8 verses of mind transformation became transmitted and taught openly from that point onwards. So it went on to various masters after that and finally arrived at Lama Tsongkhapa. And then went on again, and from Lama Tsongkhapa went on down to His Holiness Kyabje Pa Bongka Rinpoche, His Holiness Trijang Rinpoche, and then to His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. And that's where in Kachara House, our lineage of the 8 verses of mind transformation teachings actually come from. Because our Rinpoche, Tsem Rinpoche, received these teachings from the Dalai Lama in Washington, New Jersey in 1979. And Rinpoche said that these were some of the teachings that moved him the most profoundly, moved him the most. And to this day, it's one of Rinpoche's favorite teachings and one of the teachings that Rinpoche has made as the core practice of Kachara House. So within the 8 verses of mind transformation teachings, we recite it with our sadhana, we recite it before prayers. And what is it, how is it that we can practically apply the verses in, for example, our reunion dinner situation? Okay, so one of the key components of the 8 verses of mind transformation teachings is practicing humility. And people think, if you're humble, you open yourself up for attack because I become defenseless. But if you look at it differently, humility can actually become a form of protection. Why? It's very, very hard to criticize someone who is consistently humble. If this person is consistently humble and they always say, yes, you're right, yes, I don't mind being wrong, yes, you're right, it's okay, what you say is correct to you. If they comment over and over again and you don't react, eventually the satisfaction of getting a reaction from you is no longer there. When people don't get a reaction, then they just stop doing it. Why? Because it's not fun anymore. Okay? So if someone keeps telling you, you're fat, and it irritates you, they know that, if I make this comment, got this reaction, so I'm going to do it because I want to have this result. But if you just go, okay, then the conversation stops there. Okay? So, okay, no? So this comes from the phrase or comes from the teaching where you practice seeing yourself as the lowest of all. Whatever it is that people say, okay, you're right, okay? You give them that victory. Then if you apply this to reunion dinner, and you apply it to the kind of provocative comments that people make, and then you see the type of reaction that you have after these comments are made, once these words are uttered and conveyed to you, who stays trapped and consumed by this anger, this reaction? The person who said it to you is already happily eating their steamboat, taking their fishball, vegetarian fishball, taking the vegetable, adding the noodles into the steamboat pot. They don't care already because they already made their comment. Then you're sitting there thinking, wow, my God, I have to get them back later and make sure that I don't serve them, I ignore them, I don't talk to them. Then you're very geram, you're sitting there. The fellow sitting there eating his thing, minding his own business, you're sitting there still getting very irritated by it. You're the one who's being trapped by what he said. So there's a very famous analogy about holding on to a hot piece of coal. Anger is like holding on to a hot piece of coal. The guy's thrown it to you, you're catching on to it, and you're just sitting there going, that stupid idiot, he threw the hot coal to me, he's so mean, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, your hand is there burning up, getting bruises, and the guy is already giving you the coal. He doesn't really care about what he did already. So within the 8 verses of mind transformation teachings, this aspect of being trapped by our reaction, being trapped by our anger, can be addressed by the verse, when a disturbing attitude arises, you firmly confront and avert it. When you feel that anger coming out, that irritation, that frustration, that someone said something to you that they shouldn't have, stop it. You observe, you see the reaction, and then let it go. You got the coal from the guy, drop it. You already got it when your hand burned a little bit. You have that residual feeling of hurt and injury, drop it, let it go. Why do you want to, logically speaking, stand there and then keep shouting at that fella for throwing the coal at you when you have it in your hand? He's busy off enjoying himself already. So it's not logical for us to be stuck on that feeling. And then another aspect of the 8 verses of mind transformation teachings, which we can apply to reunion dinner, is the observation, the meditation, contemplation on why people make the comments that they make. Maybe people make these comments because they're unhappy with themselves, or like what I said earlier, which is that they're insecure about something about themselves and they're trying to hide it. In that respect then, when you look at the 8 verses, the verse, hold them dear as if you found a precious treasure, becomes very, very important. Why? They're suffering. They're suffering and they don't even know that they're suffering. And on top of that, they're manifesting their anger and their hurt and their pain onto you. So instead of getting upset at them for not knowing any better, not knowing the method to make themselves happy, take care of them. Recognize why they're saying it, and then show them compassion, show them that care, teach them something that will help them to stop irritating everyone else, irritating you. Okay? So hold them dear as if you found a precious treasure. Then, when people make comments to you at dinner, you think, is fighting them worth it? Is the battle worth it? Is your angst, your very geram feeling, is that worth it? Do you need to win in that situation? Do you have to be right in that very, very small situation? After dinner, they've forgotten what they said, they go on back to their lives, then it comes and you live your life until next year again. So that small remark that they make, is it so worth it that you need to win? Do you have to win and not lose? So in that instance, you can practice the verse within the 8 verses, which is to accept the defeat and offer the victory to others. And then you look at the people you're talking to at dinner. And oftentimes, the people who actually can get to you the most and affect you the most are the people who are closest to you. And when you think they're closest to you, they're supposed to be nice to you. They're supposed to be understanding. They're supposed to be very generous and always very compassionate and giving. Okay, but they may be, but people are people. So then you think, why is it that these people who are supposed to be my family asking me these types of questions? Why are they asking me these really annoying questions, which is making me feel very uncomfortable? Why aren't they more compassionate to me? Then you think, oh, actually, you know what? They are giving me an opportunity to practice patience. They are giving me an opportunity to practice acceptance and tolerance. So then the verse, treat them as your teacher, within the 8 verses becomes very important, becomes very relevant in this moment in time. And people will give you this example very often, which is the example of Atisha. And Atisha bringing this monk who was very critical of him everywhere with him. And Atisha, being the great master that he was, people are always praising him, making offerings to him, saying, oh, you're so good, you're so intelligent, and you're so practiced and learned, and blah, 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 blah. But in that kind of environment where everyone's always in praise of you, Atisha realized that there is no opportunity to continuously test the attainment of patience. So he brings this monk around with him who's very critical, always saying he's not doing this right, he's getting that wrong, and blah, blah, blah. Just as if, because this monk actually ended up being his teacher. Whatever practices, whatever teachings I've learned, in order to actually develop patience, this monk was the opportunity for Atisha to actually show patience and actually reinforce this attainment of patience by showing it to the monk. So then we get to one of the other verses of the 8 verses of mind transformation teachings, which are also relevant to us in our reunion dinner situation, which is to rejoice in others' success. When other people compare you unfavorably to others, wish them happiness. Congratulate them. Say, great job, you're doing well. I'm not doing as great, but maybe next year I can come back and surprise you. But for now, you're doing better than me. Great. At least someone in the family is succeeding, okay? I might be stuck in my failure life, but if you're doing well, okay, people should be proud of you. And in that instance, then you have the phrase, the verse which becomes very applicable, which is to offer every benefit and happiness to others. Okay? So reunion dinners, although all of us have different approaches, different relationships with our reunion dinners, can actually become an opportunity for us to engage in Dharma practice with others. And for those of us who have children, reunion dinners are also a very great way to self-reflect. Why? Are you turning into the type of person, are we turning into the type of people that in the future our children regret having reunion dinner with? They think, I have to go back during Chinese New Year and see my parents. Very difficult, so critical, always telling me that I'm not doing things right. At your stage now, if you have kids, are you doing the things that your kids in the future will actually make them regret coming for dinner with you? So how do we ensure that it does not come to that kind of stage? And of course, the answer is going to be to practice Dharma, okay? So to introduce Dharma into your family environment, introduce Dharma to your kids, and to teach them from a young age the principles, the values of practicing Dharma. So that's why you should bring them to KSDS, okay? Kachara Sunday Dharma School, okay? But okay, personally, I know that from my experience, I had the great privilege, great merit to meet Rinpoche when I was young. And from that moment onwards, the moment I met Rinpoche, Rinpoche has always been trying to foster closer connections between family members. And this is across the board. And personally, my experience is when we were younger, Rinpoche actually gave us the Manjushri practice. And within the Manjushri practice, Rinpoche gave us a verse that Rinpoche asked us to recite every day. And the verse was, may my parents have long life, health and prosperity. May I always be able to serve and please them. May I always appreciate and understand their sacrifices towards me. May I do well in school, studies, and complete my education. May I grow up to be someone beneficial to others and society. So every single day, we'll be reciting this. Separately, Rinpoche will be teaching the children how to practice Dharma and to practice loyalty, practice compassion to our parents and to others. Then separately, Rinpoche is teaching the parents how to teach the children how to make right decisions. So when we teach Dharma to our kids from a young age, we ourselves ensure that they grow up to make the right decisions. And how you teach children, not just by telling them, but also by practicing ourselves. Kids are extremely observant. You think that they're sitting in the corner playing and they don't know what's going on. Actually, they do. They themselves don't realize that they know what's going on, but many years down the line, they'll look back and they'll be like, actually, my parents were doing this at that age. I didn't think about it that way at the time, but now, looking back, I know. So children are observant, and how to make sure that you create an environment, create a situation whereby in the future your children don't regret coming back to have dinner with you is by practicing Dharma now and also by introducing others in the future. So if you want, you take it as kind of an insurance policy to have pleasant reunion dinners in the future. If you're going to have difficult ones now, fine, whatever. You make sure that your kids like you so that when they get older, you have an opportunity to have nice dinners, okay? Now it's just difficult for now, okay? So it's up to us whether we want reunion dinner to be pleasant or unpleasant. And what do I mean by up to us is that it's based on the decisions that we make, the reaction that we have towards comments that other people make towards us. If you want it to be pleasant, then you treat it as a time for family to reconnect, and you treat it as a time for you to catch up with people that you have not seen for a very long time. And if you're super kepochi like me, then it's an opportunity to be busybody with everybody's life. Okay? But if you want it to be unpleasant, then you react badly to the things that people say. People say that you are a loser, you fight. People say that you don't have a good job, you fight. And then when you start doing that, automatically conflict will arise, automatically things become difficult, things become uncomfortable, things become full of anger, and that's how you associate reunion dinners with very difficult situations. So ultimately, reunion dinner is a once-a-year event, and it is important to our culture because in this day and age, these types of large gatherings between extended family, they don't come around very often anymore. We don't have these types of big dinners in most families nowadays. And on our part, as people who have had the opportunity to learn the Dharma, to hear Dharma, we can use it as an opportunity to, we play our part. We play our part to make sure that it's a happy occasion, to make sure that it's a pleasant occasion. And we also use it as an opportunity to progress in our spiritual practice. It can be that, the dinner can be this opportunity to progress in spiritual practice, or it can also be a very big opportunity for us to create suffering for others. Why? Because just like how you have this negative, or may have this negative impression of dinners, and you dread it, you're very anxious about it, you're not looking forward to it, other people are having the same reaction too. They may not be as happy to come to reunion dinner as you think. So it's for us, we do our part, what we know, put it into practice at that point in time to make sure that it's a nice celebratory event for everyone. And just because it is reunion dinner, it also doesn't mean that we disregard our spiritual practice for a few hours. Okay, as you're tossing the yisang and you're putting the steamboat together and you're ordering things, it doesn't mean that Dharma practice stops there. Just because it's Gong Hei Fat Choi and you're looking forward to the first year of Chinese, okay, because I'm not married, I look forward to the first year because ang bao, but for the kids, and it's not an opportunity for us to sit back and think, okay, I'm going to take a break, I'm not in the temple, I'm with my family, I'm eating with them, I don't need to practice. Actually, in those few hours, you may possibly have more opportunities to practice with those who are close to you than you do for the rest of the year. Why? Because you have much more people coming to poke you to try and get a reaction. Then you practice, you see what I learned in the previous year before this dinner, did I learn and did I practice enough to not react during the reunion dinner or not? And at the same time, it also becomes an opportunity for us to show people how much progress we've made in our spiritual practice. And I know examples of people, family members who were not so keen on their kids entering Dharma, doing Dharma full-time, doing Dharma work, or engaging in deeper spiritual practice. And those people, they persevered over time. They were very patient with their family. No matter what it is that their family said to them, no matter how irritating and how upsetting it was, they maintained their practice, they maintained their patience, their acceptance, their compassion for the people who are perceived to be attempting to upset them. And over time, the people that you find the most difficult actually say, hey, 10 years ago, when I made this comment to Jean Ai, she would freak out. 10 years later, she doesn't freak out so much anymore. What is it that led her to not freak out 10% less, okay? So what is it? Must be what it is that she's doing. In that way, then you can inspire other people and actually help them to connect with Dharma teachings, which they can see that in you, there is a tangible result to spiritual practice. Okay, but ultimately, if you really cannot tahan your family members, you just sit there quietly, eat your food, and just think, this is a once-a-year event, and after I eat, I can get out of here. It's a few hours, just grin and bear it, and then go, okay? Just get it over and done with, and I'll see you guys later next year, okay? So, if you really don't want to practice, then, okay, it's a once-a-year event. I'm not going to see you guys until next year. So, hey, bye, okay? Okay, I was just kidding about that, by the way. I was just saying you should actually practice. But I hope what I shared with everyone was beneficial. And I hope that when you guys go for your dinners this year, that you have a more pleasant experience both for yourself and for other people. Remembering that comments that people make are just remarks. How you actually, the part that you play, the responsibility that you have to create a pleasant environment, that actually lies with you too. Not always pushing the blame onto other people for why they said this, why they did that, why they behave like this. Don't do that, but look more at how you can change the situation, what kind of responsibility you can take in order to make sure that everyone has a very pleasant experience, has good memories, and then leaves dinner feeling good and looks forward to dinner next year. Okay? So I think I've shared basically everything I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Pastor Jean Ai. I assume nobody has any questions, so we end today. Thank you very much for attending. And we have next week, the same time, we have a sharing by Dato Colin on managing wealth. Inviting wealth in Chinese. So those Chinese speakers and those who have Chinese speaker friends who can translate for you, please come and attend. Thank you very much.
Oh.